Do you ever feel like no matter how many photos you're taking, that you aren't getting any better? You're not alone, for a start, and you're not stuck. You are stuck, obviously, because otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video, but you're not stuck forever. What you probably need is a bit of a shift. I'm going to go through a number of things in this video that have worked for me in the past when I've felt like this. Not all of them will apply to everyone. Take what you need and see what intrigues you and try and apply it to your own photography. And I think that will help you move through these things that happen every so often that are basically just photography plateaus. Make sure you stick around till our last one, because I think that one is probably one that we could all get on board with. There's a number of different ways that you could change your perspective. The first one is to do with what you shoot. Maybe try and change what you shoot for a bit and see if it unlocks anything for you. I used to shoot landscapes most of the time, and the reason I wasn't getting any better at them was because I just didn't have the time to commit to landscape photography. I couldn't go out for sunrises and sunsets, mainly because I've got a young family and various family commitments around that. So I wanted to spend more time shooting in the middle of the day in more sort of sociable hours. So I found things I could shoot that would fit in better with that. And that's now evolved into what I'm shooting now and what I'm getting the most joy out of now. Another thing you could look at changing is gear, and I don't mean buy new gear necessarily, I mean changing the gear you're using. Maybe you shoot with a prime for a while instead of a zoom, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Or maybe try shooting handheld if you normally use a tripod, or maybe try using a tripod more if you're often shooting handheld. Just change what you're doing and maybe think about unlearning some of the habits that you've picked up that, whilst potentially important, might actually be limiting your photography in some way. Now I know what you're thinking, and when it comes to any kind of creative block or plateau or anything like that, someone always pops up and suggests some sort of a creative challenge. Well, this is hopefully going to make you think about it a little bit differently, and that is the I can never say this word, specificity behind it, because I think the more specific you can be about this, the more likely you are to commit to it. If it's just a random project that you've plucked from a Google search, I'm not convinced that's going to work. It's behind me is a bridge. It's probably quite obvious. Maybe it's not obvious from this angle, but it's a bridge over a river, and this is about a mile from my house. And this is something I keep coming back to and shooting in different weather conditions and different seasons, and it's become a bit of a project for me. And the reason I like it is because, well, it's a nice scene, nice sort of landscape scene, and this is the only bridge I know of over this stretch of river, so it's kind of interesting to me, and it just all fits together quite nicely. So that's why I've made a bit of a project over this bridge. It's something that interests me and it's easy to get to, so it's quite specific. You don't have to go to that level of detail and shoot the same thing over and over again, but I think the specificity plus something that interests you, genuinely interests you, combined will mean you commit to it and want to see this project through. I remember years ago I decided to shoot a bunch of self-portraits, and I gave up after a few days, and I realised quite quickly this isn't what I want my photography to be. So it sounds daft, but don't pick something that doesn't interest you. But challenges don't just have to be about projects and things like that. It could be a challenge to go out 2 mornings a week, or 2 evenings a week, or 1 afternoon a week, or take your camera everywhere you go, like I've spoken about before. A challenge can comprise so many different elements, and I think once we gain specificity, I said it right, about what we're going to do, that makes it a lot easier to commit to, because we're not asking ourselves those internal questions about what should I do now. Now, not for the first time on this channel, I'm going to now completely contradict myself, because that freedom you can get from taking your camera everywhere, that gives you almost too much choice. Maybe too much choice is a problem. I spoke about this in my lenses video recently, but maybe constrict yourself to more limitation, and that takes your mind off the gear and onto the thing you're trying to do, get better at photography. So limit yourself to 1 camera and 1 lens. Try it out for a week, a month, whatever, and just see how working within those limitations can lead to improvements over time.
So the next thing I'm going to talk about is deepening your knowledge.
What are you doing?
Do you mind? I'm making a video. I think when it comes to deepening your knowledge, you've got to do it really intentionally. People look towards social media and YouTube all the time for inspiration. Inspiration can be found everywhere, but is it really inspiring? Does that word actually mean anything realistically? Like, you can be inspired by all sorts of stuff. You see inspirational quotes and inspirational posts and reels and everything else, but are they actually getting you to do anything? Are they creating action, or is it just, oh, that's inspiring, and then move on? And I think a lot of people look for inspiration in that way, and it doesn't really work as a result. This is more about finding things that actually change your knowledge on things and deepen your knowledge on things. So maybe it's learning something completely different about photography that you didn't know before. Maybe it's learning a different editing technique. Editing is something that a lot of people shy away from because they don't like the thought of sitting at a computer all the time, but it's something that we really need to improve. So someone that is really good at editing is this guy.
I'm not sure about that, but editing is really, really important. I think it's like 50% of creating a photo. I remember I went to Ireland with an amazing photographer, Michael Chamberlain. We were in the same place taking the same photos, and yeah, his compositions were probably a little bit better than mine, but what really made his photos stand out was his ability to edit better than I can. I think spending more time learning editing and understanding your style is really important, and to do that you just got to keep going, just keep trying different things and experimenting.
So yeah, learn editing, keep trying things.
I also love to deepen my knowledge by studying the works of photographers that I really admire, and I think there's such an advantage to doing this via physical media rather than by doing it online. I think one of the trickiest things we can deal with is a problem that we might not even be fully aware of, or it might just be something we don't really know what to do. It's like we know what our images are like, and we know what the images that we like are like, and we can see the difference between them, but we can't work out how to make our photography match up to what we see. If you don't know what's wrong with your images, yet you know they're not what you want them to be, how do you get to that point where you can find out what you're doing wrong? And the way to be able to work all that out is simply just to ask. Photographers are posting all the time on social media, and I think one of the things I've noticed the most is people post images and they often don't put a question with it. They don't ask other photographers what they think. I think a lot of photographers quite often don't want to know. They don't want to open themselves up to that subjective criticism, and it is all subjective. Everyone's got different opinions on different people's work, so you can be prepared to pay attention to it or not. That's completely up to you. But if you ask the community wherever it is that you post or hang out, whether it be inline or online or in person, ask them for constructive criticism. Ask them how you can improve on your images, and I think you find that most of the time people give you the answers that you want to hear. Now, I'm not convinced Instagram's necessarily the best place to do this. Maybe more text-based apps like Threads, Twitter. Are people still on Twitter? I don't know. Blue Sky, the photo app, which I've not used really yet. Vero, are people still on that? Flickr, forums, camera clubs, all sorts of places like that. Ask not just what do you think of this photo, it has to be like, what do you think of my composition here? Does the lighting work here? Do the colours work here? Is there anything I could have done with regard to focal length, positioning, anything else to improve this image? I think getting specific with these questions, and therefore with the answers, is what's going to lead to you being able to see how to bridge that gap between your images and the other images you see that you like. Something I think every photographer can benefit from. Yeah, I know, studious look. I'm filming this bit at a different time, and leaving these on seemed preferable to having a glasses mark on my nose. But yeah, one of the things that a lot of photographers could probably benefit from is getting back in touch with why do you do this? What's the why behind photography for you? How come you picked up a camera? Why did you start photography? What was it about capturing moments and expressing your view on the world through the camera that made you want to do it. Revisiting that why and asking yourself why photography is so important to you can present you with really valuable information that will help you get through these plateaus. And like I alluded to before, those feelings on why can really give clarity to what you decide to commit to as a personal project. A bit like with this scene and what I've committed to more recently. This is one of my favourite things to talk about. Just shoot more. Have a camera that you take everywhere with you. Shoot as regularly as possible and try and filter quality out of that equation. It doesn't matter if these photos are good or not. It's about seeing and understanding the world around you and getting used to capturing that on a camera. Me doing that for the last 2 years has without a doubt improved my photography and improved what I notice when I'm out and about as well. I say it doesn't matter if the images are any good or not. At least try. Don't just go around taking pictures of anything just for the sake of it. You've got to be kind of intentional about this, I suppose. Nobody ever got better at photography by not doing anything. So you have to do something. You have to keep going with this to improve most of the time. But for this to work, you have to embrace imperfection. Perfectionism is something that holds so many photographers back. And if you can just put yourself into your images, like just take pictures of what it is you want to take pictures of. How the world receives it shouldn't matter to what you are taking photographs of. What you're taking photographs of and the photographs you are making should be important to you, and if other people receive it well, great. If they don't, it doesn't matter. It's what's important to you, and I think that perfectionism can be something that holds so many people back. The only way out of this is through. I love my contradictions. Despite saying you should take a camera everywhere with you and shoot everything, sometimes you've just got to recognize when you need a break. And I think this comes from maybe when you feel stuck and you're trying to force it, when you're trying to make yourself go out at certain times of day, trying to do sunset after sunset after sunset or similar, and trying to capture certain images. I think that limitation again is something that can restrict us. So maybe take a break from photography altogether for a few weeks and just try a different creative pursuit. See if that unlocks something. Maybe take a break from the type of photography that you're used to doing and just embrace the everyday camera mentality and just go out and shoot whatever and see if that changes anything. There's that old saying, isn't there, that I'm going to absolutely butcher about, what is it, the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. It's the same with this. You've got to change something if you want your photography to change. And I think any of the things I've spoken about are on their own valuable exercises to do, but together could form something even more powerful. I said that the last point was going to be something everyone can get on board with. One of the things that certainly I do, and I know other people do as well, is to put this pressure on ourselves to always be doing something, to always be productive. You've got to be a productive photographer to keep up with everyone else and what they're doing on social media. It's a really vicious cycle to get into. So to step away, to take some time out, read some books, study some paintings, study some photos, whatever. Doing that can be really valuable, but only if you recognize and be honest with yourself that that's something that needs to happen. Only you'll know when it's ready to step back into it. And I think that when you do, you'll be much better prepared to carry on with an upward trajectory of your photographic journey. I know how frustrating it is. I know how difficult it is to be in this position. I hope that's been helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.